They called her Henry VIII's Rose Without a Thorn. Young, beautiful, and full of life, Catherine Howard seemed to embody everything the aging king longed for: innocence, joy, and the promise of youth. But behind the glittering crown lay a darker story, one of neglect, secrets, and betrayal. This is not just the tale of a queen who lost her head. It is the story of a girl who was never truly given a chance, a life cut short in the most tragic way. Catherine was born sometime between 1518 and 1524, probably nearer to 1521. Though she carried the great Howard name, her branch of the family was far from wealthy. Her father, Edmund Howard, was a younger son with little fortune, and her mother, Joyce Culpepper, died when Catherine was still a child. With too many mouths to feed, her father sent her to live with the Dowager Duchess of Norfolk, Agnes Tilney, where Catherine joined a noisy, bustling household filled with wards, servants, and forgotten children of noble blood. Life in the Duchess's care was carefree, even careless. The young girls shared rooms, music, and gossip, with little strict oversight. Catherine learned to read, write, dance, and play music. She was raised Catholic, though not particularly pious. What made her stand out was her charm. Short and graceful, rather than strikingly beautiful, she sparkled with energy, loved dancing and music, and could win affection easily. But in Tudor England, a girl's honor was everything, and Catherine's honor would not survive her teenage years. When she was about 12, her music teacher, Henry Manox, began taking advantage of her innocence. Though their encounters never went as far as intercourse, they were compromising enough to mark her reputation forever. Later, when she was about 14, Catherine became entangled with Francis Dereham, a distant kinsman who joined the Duchess's household. This was no childish flirtation. They addressed each other as husband and wife, and their intimacy was obvious to everyone around them. In 1539, her powerful uncle, the Duke of Norfolk, saw his chance to use her beauty to the family's advantage. He secured her a place in the household of Anne of Cleves, Henry VIII's new bride-to-be. Catherine was suddenly at the glittering heart of court life. Here, surrounded by silk and ceremony, she caught the attention of a man she could never have dreamed of attracting, the king himself. Henry was nearing 50, swollen from age and disease, bitter from failed marriages, and desperate for youth. When he saw Catherine, young, lively, and radiant, he was entranced. To him, she was a rose in bloom, proof that he could still command beauty and desire. Within months, Henry cast aside Anne of Cleves, annulled their marriage, and in July 1540 married Catherine Howard. She was barely 17 or 18. The king adored her. He called her his Rose Without a Thorn, showered her with gifts and affection, and showed her off as if she were his prize jewel. Catherine played her role gracefully. At Christmas, she danced with Anne of Cleves and gave her jewels, softening what could have been an awkward relationship. She pleaded with Henry to pardon prisoners, acted with compassion, and tried to be the merciful queen people expected. She smoothed tensions with her stepchildren, even managing to earn a measure of respect from the older, difficult Princess Mary, while offering warmth to the younger Elizabeth and Edward. On the surface, Catherine was everything a queen should be. But beneath the glittering crown lay a girl trapped. Her husband was sickly, plagued with leg ulcers, and whispers spread that he was impotent. She was young and vibrant, but she was tied to a man 3 decades her senior, bound to his will, his moods, and his failing body. And as she struggled to adjust, the ghosts of her past began to creep back into her life. Francis Dereham appeared at court, boasting loudly of his old intimacy with the Queen. He pressed her for favors, reminding her of what they had shared. Afraid he might expose her secrets, Catherine gave him a position as her secretary, a desperate attempt to keep him quiet. At the same time, another man was circling her, Thomas Culpepper, a handsome, charming courtier favored by the king. Whether Catherine loved him or was manipulated by him, Their meetings became dangerous whispers in the night, arranged with the help of Lady Rochford, the widow of Anne Boleyn's brother George. It was during this time that Catherine wrote the letter that would doom her. In it, she confessed, "It makes my heart die to think I cannot always be with you. Yours, as long as life endures." Historians still debate whether these words reflected true passion or the desperation of a young woman trying to appease a man who could expose her. But when they were discovered, there was no room for mercy. In October 1541, Archbishop Thomas Cranmer received reports of Catherine's past. At first, Henry dismissed them. He adored his queen and could not believe the accusations. But when the investigation uncovered proof, her old affairs with Manox and Dereham, her secret meetings with Culpepper, and the fatal letter, Henry's world shattered. He had believed her to be his innocent jewel, and now he saw her as a deceiver. He locked himself away, sinking into fits of rage and grief, crying that his perfect rose had betrayed him. Francis Dereham and Thomas Culpepper were executed brutally, their bodies mutilated, their heads stuck on spikes above London Bridge. Catherine herself was stripped of her crown and imprisoned. She was condemned not by trial, but by Act of Parliament, which declared that any queen who concealed a tainted past was guilty of treason. She was only a teenager, yet the law now demanded her death. On February 10, 1542, Catherine was taken by barge to the Tower of London. As she passed beneath London Bridge, she would have seen the rotting heads of the men she had once trusted, Dereham and Culpepper, their faces blackened with decay, staring down at her as a final, grisly warning. 3 days later, on the morning of February 13th, she was led to the scaffold on Tower Green. Witnesses said she was trembling so violently she had to be helped up the steps. She was pale, weak, barely able to stand, but she found enough strength to speak. She admitted her sentence was just and that she had wronged the king. Then she knelt, placing her head upon the block. The axe fell, swift and final, and Catherine Howard was gone. She was buried without ceremony in the chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula within the tower walls, beside her cousin Anne Boleyn, another young queen cut down by the same husband. Lady Rochford, who had aided her meetings with Culpepper, was executed moments later and buried by her side. Catherine Howard's life lasted barely 18 or 19 years. Her story has often been painted as one of recklessness and folly, but when we look closer, we see something far sadder. She was a girl neglected in childhood, taken advantage of by men, and pushed into the arms of a king by a family eager for power. She was trapped by secrets, betrayed by those around her, and left defenseless when the storm broke. She was not the seductress Henry's counselors portrayed, nor the silly child later historians mocked. She was a victim of her world, of her family, of the men who desired her. A rose without a thorn, cut down before she ever had the chance to bloom.